Good evening. I would like to call this meeting to order at 5 PM, and I'd like to announce that the board will meet in closed session to address items 1 through 3. Thank you.
Hey, are you going to support our students going?
Good evening. Wow, great job. Good evening. I would like to call this meeting to order. Just letting you know that the board has met in closed session and no action was taken. Good evening and welcome to Elk Grove Unified School District's board meeting. The Board of Education has resumed full in-person board meetings unless remote attendance is permitted pursuant to the California Brown Act. Live streaming of full in-person board meetings will be available to the public via the Zoom platform. Today's meeting is being video recorded and will be available on the district's YouTube channel. During regular board meetings, the public may make public comments on items on the agenda or items not on the agenda. Requests to make public comment will be accepted for an item up until the board president introduces the item. Generally, members of the public will be given 3 minutes to address the board. If there are 15 or more comments on a specific item, the board will reduce individual comment time to 2 minutes each. If there are 30 or more comments on a specific item, the board will reduce individual comments to 1 minute each. Individuals may not defer their time to another individual speaker to increase their total speaking time. Please be mindful that district students may be watching. You are encouraged to address the board and the public in a respectful manner such that all those observing, from children to adults, are made to feel welcome, safe, and valued. The board shall not permit any disturbance or willful interruption of board meetings. Persistent disruption by an individual or group shall be grounds for the board president to provide a warning and then to terminate the individual's privilege of addressing the board. All right, and now I would like to share Elk Grove Unified's land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the Elk Grove Unified School District, administrative facilities, and schools occupy the unceded territory of the Miwok, the original people of the skies, land, and waters where we work and learn. The Miwok have cared for these lands since time immemorial. They continue to teach their traditional knowledge that comes from and responds to the needs of the land and the people who share it. May our daily lives and work teaching, learning, leadership, and community engagement support the evolving mission of the Miwok for their community and these lands. May we strive to acknowledge the past for the betterment of our future generations. May we look to our tribal partners, the Wilton Rancheria, the descendants of the original people of this land, to assist with the successful education of our community. And now I would like to invite Kristen Gepetti to come up, along with Kimberly Wallace. Hi, guys. We are going to read, Nancy is going to read some kind words about this family so we all know who they are, and then we will do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Welcome. Elizabeth Pinkerton Middle School and the district are honored to recognize Kristen Gepetti as one of our outstanding partners in education. The Gepettis first moved to Elk Grove, specifically the Zender Ranch area, in 2017 and have been present members of the school community and the larger community ever since. Kristen and Gary Gepetti are the proud parents of 4 outstanding students. Wednesday, who is currently a sophomore at Laguna Creek High School, Colby, a 7th grader at Pinkerton, Noel, a 4th grader at Miwok Village Elementary, and Carson, who is in 2nd grade at Miwok. The Gepettis are present and active parents who attend all of their children's events and activities. Carson enjoys ice hockey, and Wednesday is on the color guard. Colby and Noel both participate in band, and Noel also enjoys theater arts and participates in plays. Even with the time commitment involved in supporting all her children's pursuits, Mrs. Gepetti still finds time to fulfill the role of librarian at Miwok Village Elementary. Additionally, Mrs. Gepetti is on the board of the Miwok PTA and served as its president last year. Mrs. Gepetti consistently contributes her time and effort to a variety of events on our school campuses. She can be found volunteering her time at dances, fairs, VAPA events, and more. Without the tireless support of families like the Gepettis, schools would have a hard time functioning. We thank you for your service and dedication to our students, teachers, and the greater Elk Grove community.
And now you can lead us in the pledge.
Ready? Okay, ready? Okay, should we say 1, 2, 3? Ready?
One, two, three.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wait, can you say real quick? There we go. Thank you very much. And I think we have a student regional report from the Cosumnes Oaks region. So if we could have, that includes Cosumnes Oaks High School, Elizabeth Pinkerton Middle School, Aletha Donner Elementary, Elliott Ranch Elementary, Miwok Village Elementary, and Zender Ranch Elementary. So if I could have the student representatives come on up.
Good evening, Board President Jamerson, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. My name is Arya Shergill.
And I am Jordan Agbetter, and we are representing the Cosumnes Oaks region. Thank you, Noah Vang, third grade lion dancer from Zender Ranch. We would like to now welcome Miwok Village third and fourth grade students led by third grade teacher, Mrs. Lee, presenting a Vietnamese dance to the song Toi Ma Swan.
Thank you, MVES students, for a beautiful dance. Next, we would like to present Mrs. Chilton's second grade classes from ZRES, who will be singing Sasara, a Filipino folk song.
Hello, board members and guests. My name is Keon and I attend Zender Ranch Elementary School. Tonight, the students from Mrs. Chilton's second grade class will perform a Filipino folk song titled Sasara. The Philippine Islands are an archipelago consisting of over 7,600 islands in Southeast Asia. The capital city, Manila, is considered one of the most densely populated cities in the world and has somewhere between 120 to 187 different languages and dialects spoken throughout the country. One language, Tagalog, is the language you'll hear tonight. Sasara was often sung by children like a nursery song. As is often true in old traditions, multiple versions of the song exist, with some in different languages and dialects. Here is a translation of our song lyrics. In the fall, the flower fades. In the spring, the flower blooms. Now the flower turns around. Make way for the queen now. This was a fun song and to learn, and we are thankful for the opportunity to share it with you all tonight.
Great job, second graders. Now we would like to move on to our regional highlights.
I love Meadowlark Elementary School because I like the activities and works, and I also like my teacher so much.
I love Miwok Elementary School, and these are some reasons why. First, we have super nice principals here, and we have nice teachers. Second, there's so much people you can make new friends with. And third, everywhere you look, it just looks so fun. And those are the reasons why I love Miwok Village.
My name is Preston, and I like Miwok Village because they have like great rules and they have like great teachers, and you get to learn good stuff.
Please number 3. Blue, white.
Hi, I'm Oliver. And I'm Shalia. And welcome to Rocket News. I will be the children of our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty that possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make you feel. And never to give them remind us how we never to because the great love of us and how things to me.
Now we would like to present our highlights from Cosumnes Oaks High School. To kick off the school year, we hosted a welcome back rally with performances from our very own Polynesian Club, Hype Dance Company, and cheer team, as well as games for students to participate in, such as mattress surfing and a fashion show. Each class also painted a mural on our classroom pods and quad.
CO put on many events leading up to our homecoming dance. Many students dressed up for Spirit Week, which included Twin Day and Dress as Your Type Day. Each class built a float, which were displayed and voted on at our homecoming football game. Our 2000s themed homecoming dance was a huge success, with over 825 students attending.
After hosting our annual club rush in late October, we had over 70 clubs on campus with a lot of new additions. From K-pop club to Animal Wearfell club, students have had many opportunities to get involved and express their passions further. Our food fair provided a chance for clubs to raise funds by selling delicious foods at lunch.
We also held our Fall Fest on October 27th with a Pumpkin Palooza contest and our very own haunted house, ran by Thespian Society and ASB, where actors worked hard to recreate scenes from famous horror movies. Students and their families, as well as staff, all enjoyed a frightful night. Personally, my favorite part of Fall Fest was when our vice principal, Mr. McCracken, got slimed in the quad.
On December 8th, our wind and vocal ensembles, as well as our concert and symphonic band, put on a festive holiday concert complete with snowfall. They performed a wide selection of songs from classic holiday carols to Frozen's Do You Want to Build a Snowman?
Our student athletes had much to celebrate this season. During the fall athletic season, our cross-country team had a number of runners qualify for the CIF San Joaquin section meet. Our football team finished third in the Delta League and moved on to playoffs. Our girls tennis qualified for the CIF Division I playoffs as well. Freshman Gabby Williams and Sydney Sue won the CIF Division I's double tournament. Girls golf had 5 girls qualify for the section tournament, and Jazara Vang qualified for the Masters meet. To start the winter season, Boys and girls basketball have a record of 12-8. On our girls varsity basketball team, senior Isabel Tan is currently second in the state and 20th in the country in three-point shots made.
COHS students have been working very hard in academics. To support students during finals, CSF tutors have hosted their Cram with the Pack study session and provided free hot chocolate as well as PBIS points for attendees. Cosumnes Oaks has earned state gold recognition in regards to our PBIS initiatives for the second year in a row. Additionally, our annual college app info sessions provided an opportunity for our seniors to get support from our school counselors and college and career advisor.
To conclude our CO regional presentation, COHS students will present the Haka dance. Traditionally, Haka was a customary way to welcome visiting tribes, but it also served to invigorate warriors as they headed into battle. It was a show of physical prowess and an embodiment of cultural pride, strength, and unity.
Amazing. Great job. I know we have a number of our principals here, so I just wanted to shout out to Zachary Cheney, Kimberly Wallace, Cindy Doyle, Catherine Van Hoosen, Jody Boyle, and Cheryl Kilatan. Kilatan. Thank you, everyone. Students, excellent job, and you are able to head home and work on homework. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. If I can have Rod Edmiston come on up. We are going to recognize our fall CIF champions. And Carmine Fortuna is going to join you.
There you go. Wasn't that complicated? Good evening. President Jamerson, members of the school board, Superintendent Hoffman. Tonight, I am honored to introduce you to a very special team and three very special athletes. First, the Pleasant Grove High School Girls Golf Team. For the second year in a row, they won the Delta League Championship, the CIF Division I Sac Joaquin Section Championship, and the Sac Joaquin Masters Championship. This group of young ladies also tied for third place at the CIF NorCal Championships. With that, it is my honor to introduce you the head coach, Rob Rinaldi, of the 2023 Pleasant Grove Girls Golf Team, who will introduce his athletes.
Thanks for having us here tonight. I overheard a little bit of what Rod said. It's a very special group of young ladies. Tonight, we have two juniors who have been with the team for 3 years. They've actually won 3 consecutive Delta League titles, and then the section and the Masters. The rest of the team couldn't make it, indicative of the hard work that these girls put in. They're either doing homework or working. None of them are golfing today, I gotta say. The weather's been a little tricky, but I've got Adie Smith here. Adie had an incredible year, got better and better, and had a couple of really key rounds during our playoff run. And then Petra Yee is also here. Petra ended up being our top golfer at the end of the year and qualified for the state tournament as an individual, where she placed in the top 20 in the state with a 72 at 2 over par, I believe, at the state tournament. Just incredible young ladies and golfers. Thank you very much.
You're good to set. Good. Thanks, Rob. And next, we have 2 athletes from Cosumnes Oaks High School. These 2 young ladies won the CIF Division I Section Tennis Championship. After defeating the #1 seed from Wood Creek High School in the semifinals, they defeated Davis High School 6-0, 6-2 to win the section championship. This is the first Division I women's doubles championship for Cosumnes Oaks High School, and both of these young ladies are only freshmen. I would like now to introduce their head coach, Chris Wall, who will introduce the young ladies.
Hi, these 2 girls, I have witnessed, grow up playing tennis here in Elk Grove. They've played many years doubles, so it wasn't a huge surprise that we were able to, do what we did. It was in a strange fashion though, because one of them was injured in the finals of the league tournament, and we had to default that match to Davis. But we got our revenge on them by meeting in the finals of the section tournament and defeated them pretty easily. So pretty happy, pretty excited. Like to introduce Gabby first. Come on out. And next I have Sydney. Thank you.
Parents, you can come on up and grab a picture after Miss Lavasser is done. Yep, that's it. Congratulations.
And finally, we have a special young lady from Sheldon High School. She won the Sac Joaquin Section Division I Cross Country Championship. And in a tough 5-kilometer race, she outdistanced the rest of the runners by 4 seconds, which was her closest competitor. She is the first Elk Grove Unified student athlete ever to win a Section Division I cross-country championship. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce her cross-country coach, Deb Lee, who will introduce this exceptional young lady.
I am proud to announce Alana. She is hard worker, dedicated, and just a true athlete. All the miles that she's put in this year. Congratulations.
You can come closer to grab a picture of her. That's cute, yeah.
Thank you, Gordon.
Congratulations, congratulations. Thank you. Okay, next item, I'm going to have Ms. Coates come up. Recommendation to name the gymnasium at Monterey Trail High School.
All right. Good evening, Madam President, Board, Superintendent Hoffman, public, and staff. Nice to see everyone this evening. Tonight, we are going to bring a team up. We are recommending, consistent with our board policy and our admin regulation 7511, the community and staff members of Monterey Trail High School have requested to name the gymnasium at Monterey Trail High School the W. Terry Chapman Gymnasium. We support this recommendation. I'm going to bring up Chad Schweitzer to give us more information about this impressive person.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Mr. Chapman dedicated his life to the passion for education as a difference maker for all students. He began his career in Elk Grove Unified School District in 1974 as a science teacher and department lead at Joseph Kerr Middle School. Stayed there until 1985 when he became a science teacher and department lead at Valley High School. Then in 1989, he returned to Joseph Kerr to become a vice principal, knowing that a critical part of success in any school is founded in school leadership. He knew that leaders build core values that form the foundation for the rest of the structure. After serving for 3 years at Kerr Middle School, he became the founding principal in 1992 for Harriet Eddy Middle School, where he remained for 4 years. In 1996, Mr. Chapman became principal at Florin High School, continuing to practice courage and patience as he allowed for imagination while executing his vision to support all students by supporting all staff and families to the best of his ability. In 2002, Mr. Chapman was named the founding principal for Monterey Trail High School as he worked with the planning committee for 2 years to open the school later in 2004. Mr. Chapman is fondly thought of as a strong leader with the unique ability to empower creativity and innovation within his staff. He was a great team builder, exceptional at enabling problem solving and inclusion of ideas from all to grow a stellar learning community. He is known as a visionary who was trusted as a humble and thoughtful leader. He had commitment to monitoring and improving success and academic excellence for all of his students. Students, staff, and the community have all benefited from his leadership, and thus it's proposed to be honored that this well-deserved recognition to have the Monterey Trail High School Gymnasium named after W. Terry Chapman. I'd like to now introduce the principal of Monterey Trail, Ms. Laura Ricks.
Hello, good evening. As the proud principal at Monterey Trail High School, first, I want to thank you for honoring this proposal tonight and hearing this, considering it on behalf of the staff, community, and students. And obviously, I reap the benefits of what he created there. So while I didn't have the pleasure to open Monterey Trail with Mr. Terry Chapman, it's a rare day that goes by without someone acknowledging the incredible foundation that began in 2004 under his great leadership. I was lucky enough to have the privilege of working briefly with him when my second year at the trail, we found ourselves without a principal to open the year. And he came back and served as interim principal, helping us get the year off the ground. And that was only my second year in admin. So I was definitely watching and going, what do we do? And so the incredible part is that in only about 2 months, his passion, dedication, and willingness to serve while creating a true positive, caring culture on campus were evident even in that short time frame. I was honored to work with him, but to further speak to his legacy, I wanted to make sure a veteran staff member was able to speak on this proposal. So thank you for considering it. Oh, sorry, and our veteran staff member is Mr. Mark Zalinardo.
Mr. Hoffman and members of the board, thank you for allowing us these few moments to speak on behalf of Terry. My name is Mark Zalinardo, and I'm an original staff member at Monterey Trail. I had the fortune of actually starting my career at Florin. I was hired by Mark Macris and Odie Douglas, and then Terry came on board briefly after, and we did some great work at Florin. I loved my time at Florin. I'd probably still be there, but when the opportunity presented itself to open a brand new high school and a core of my mentors, colleagues, we all decided to kind of make the move together. We're in our 20th year. Our stadium which is shared with Florin, is named after Mark Macris. And so it was only kind of fitting that another one of our, landmark buildings be named after Terry. So I kind of reached out to a lot of our initial leadership team. Annette Klein, our original school librarian, Ramey Gallagher, one of my longest colleagues. We taught together at Florin and opened Monterey Trail together, and Rick Sansone, who is our head counselor. I'd like to end just kind of reading a passage from Rick Sansone. It kind of speaks to what Terry means to the community of Monterey Trail. The critical part of success in any organization is founded in leadership. Leaders build core values that form the foundation for the rest of the structure. Leadership is no accident. It is based on traits practiced and applied daily: courage, patience, vision, imagination, and execution. Terry Chapman put these traits together when opening Monterey Trail High School, forming a solid foundation to build a lasting organization that is still in place today. Students, staff, and the community have all benefited from his leadership, and this recognition is well deserved. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Lavasser, do we have any public comments via Zoom on this item? Is she over there? Mr. Vargas, are there any blue cards on this item?
There are no blue cards on this item.
Okay. I would like to call for a motion to approve the request from Monterey Trail High School staff and community to name the gymnasium at Monterey Trail High School the W. Terry Chapman Gymnasium.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Albiani and seconded by Mr. Vargas. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay. Perfect. Okay, I would like to call on Ms. Nicole Brown for a recognition of School Counseling Week. Oh, there she is.
Good evening. I'd like to read the resolution. So good evening to Board President, good evening to the Board President and all the members of the board. The week of February 5th through the 9th, 2024 marks National School Counseling Week and provides the board with an opportunity to focus public attention on the unique contributions of school counselors. Within the U.S. school system, school counselors are thanked for the tremendous impact they have in helping students achieve academic success and to actively participate in planning for post-secondary futures. EGUSD school counselors focus on early intervention and prevention by providing direct as well as indirect student services. And they do this within the comprehensive school counseling programs that are uniquely designed for students and their families. Comprehensive school counseling programs include crisis response counseling, multi-tiered systems of student support, positive behavior intervention support, and more. Through academic, college career, and social emotional counseling, school counselors provide essential educational support services for the best academic and post-secondary outcomes for all students. The district school counseling program is considered exemplary in the region. Our school counselors align their work with the standards presented by the National School Counselor Association. And these are programs to increase student achievement. The district and our community appreciate and recognize the hard work of school counselors in providing the necessary support for students' academic, social, personal, and post-secondary success. This evening, we ask the board to approve the resolution 45 to recognize EGUSD school counselors during National School Counselor Week. Thank you.
Ms. Lavasser, are there any public comments via Zoom for this item?
Madam President, there are no public comments via Zoom for this item.
Mr. Vargas, are there any blue cards for this item?
There are no blue cards for this item.
I would like to call for a motion to approve resolution number 41, designating the month of March as, oh, I'm sorry, on the wrong one. Resolution number, here we go, number 45, recognizing February 5th through 9th, 2024 as National School Counseling Week.
Yeah, I move approval resolution number 45.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
It was moved by Mr. Fortuna and seconded by Ms. Chidas Espinosa. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Ross, if you would like to come and present on World Rare Disease Day.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman and Ms. Avalos. The Board of Education is requested to recognize February 29th, 2024 as World Rare Disease Day as part of a district-wide awareness of rare diseases and to advocate to and improve access to treatments and medical representation for individuals with rare diseases and their families. World Rare Disease Day is observed on the last day of February, and on this day, various activities take place around the world, recognizing that 80% of our rare diseases have identified genetic origins and 50% of our rare diseases touch children. The goal of this observance within the districts are to generate curiosity in students on the topics of rare diseases and encourage them to take an interest in new fields of science, to promote awareness and understanding and create compassion for other people with rare disease, and to join in a global partnership supporting the search for ways of improving the lives of those affected by rare diseases. This recognition will declare the district's support for the worldwide campaign and create awareness around rare diseases. So I respectfully ask the board to adopt Resolution 46, recognizing World Rare Disease Day.
Ms. Lavasser, do we have any public comments via Zoom for this item?
Madam President, we have no public comments via Zoom for this item.
Mr. Vargas, do we have any blue cards for this item?
There are no blue cards for this item.
I would. Yes.
Thank you. I just want to quickly say that this is an important resolution in terms of giving recognition to rare diseases. Rare diseases do not get the notoriety of other diseases, and yet they have profound impact on families and certainly on children themselves. And I'm really appreciative of the board in recognizing this resolution.
I would like to call for a motion to approve resolution number 46, recognizing February 29th, 2024 as World Rare Disease Day.
I'd like to move the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Yang and seconded by Mr. Fortuna. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, and Ms. Drake will come up and present on National Nutrition Month.
Good evening, Board President Jamerson, members of the board, is it better? Superintendent Hoffman, Ms. Lavasser, I'm here this evening to ask the board recognize that, or ask the Board of Education to adopt Resolution 41, designating the month of March as National Nutrition Month. The month of March has been designated as National Nutrition Month, sponsored annually by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics and the Food and Nutrition Services team. The campaign focuses attention on the importance of making informed food choices and developing sound eating and physical activity habits. This year's theme, Beyond the Table, encourages individuals to be mindful about the impact of daily nutrition choices that can have on personal well-being and the environment. By eating a variety of nutritious foods every day, planning and creating healthful meals each week, and taking a closer look at your food choices, lifelong healthy habits can be established and maintained. Developing healthy eating habits does not mean undertaking drastic lifestyle changes, and meals provided by Elk Grove Unified's Food and Nutrition Services help students and families meet their nutritional needs every day. With that, I ask the board adopt March as National Nutrition Month.
Ms. Lavasser, do we have any public comments via Zoom on this item?
Madam President, we have no public comments via Zoom on this item.
Mr. Vargas, do we have any blue cards on this item?
There are no blue cards on this item.
Thank you. Ensuring that our children are well-fed is really a task that we all see as important, but beyond a task, a necessity. And we're recognizing National Nutrition Month, but we're also recognizing Michelle Drake and the entire nutrition staff. Michelle's leadership and passion are indicative of the leadership and the passion shown by our food service staff. Wherever I go, people always speak to the fact that their nutrition staff is critical to their program, and that without the children being properly fed, they could not perform as they do. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate my team for that.
With that, I would like to call for a motion to approve resolution number 41, designating the month of March as National Nutrition Month.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Chávez Espinosa and seconded by Mr. Yang. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, request for student expulsions. Would anyone like to would anyone wish to address the board in closed session regarding a student expulsion recommendation? I would like to call for a motion to approve the recommendations for student expulsions.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Vargas and seconded by Ms. Albiani. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would now like to call for a motion to approve the request for return from student expulsion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Albiani and seconded by Mr. Vargas. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Public comment. Ms. Lavasser, are there any public comments via Zoom for items not on the agenda?
Yes, Madam President, we have one public comment via Zoom for items not on the agenda. Miss Shauna Mandel.
Okay, we'll come back. We'll see. Are there any blue cards for items not on the agenda, Mr. Vargas?
Yes, we have a number of blue cards. All right, we will start with Tracy Stiegler, followed by Heidi.
Evening, Superintendent, board members, staff, thank you for your time this evening. Excuse me. On August 19, 2021, the California Department of Education sent all county and district superintendents a letter outlining new laws regarding disciplinary practices, consistent with their shared view that all students, particularly African-American students and others overrepresented in suspension statistics, deserve a school environment that fosters their social-emotional well-being and academic success. In that memo, state superintendent and the board president discussed a multi-tiered system of supports, positive behavior intervention systems, implicit bias training, restorative practices, and engaging academics as methods of dismantling the school-to-prison pipeline. The state superintendent also stated that our most vulnerable students are disproportionately removed from their classes, and this impacts student engagement, academic success, dropout rates, and shows the need to replace punitive discipline practices with targeted student supports. Lastly, the state superintendent referenced data related to bias of educators, specifically that African-American students made up 5.4% of public school students in California, but comprised of 15% of students who were suspended. Evidence shows that this is not because of worse behavior, but because of harsher treatment for minor offenses and nonviolent behavior. I'm Tracy Stigler, and I'm the father of a 13-year-old boy who has attended Elk Grove Unified School District since kindergarten. In fact, I see his principal, prior principal standing in the back of the room. My wife and I have been very engaged in our children's education through their local school district, including the Crest Community Circle, PTA, and the Superintendent's Parent Advisory Commission. I'm here today to express my deep concerns with the administration of Albiani Middle School for the use of punitive discipline practices, selective and excessive discipline practice where alternatives exist, failing to follow the basic practices of restorative justice, not maintaining a safe environment for students by not properly addressing harassment, intimidation, and bullying, continuous lack of response from staff, and a bias of treatment and punishment towards my son. Our experience is consistent across two sites and two site administrations, and I'm aware that our experiences are not unique. I don't have enough time this evening with my 3 minutes to go through it, but I would ask for some continued dialogue. I would ask that in the spirit of continuous improvement, that you ensure your message of educational equality for all students matches the experience of young people on your campuses. I would ask that you execute discipline in the spirit of fairness and equity with the understanding of the characteristics of maturity level of these boys and girls. I would
Thank you, sir.
Understand
Your
the
time is
research
up.
space. And I just thank you for your time. I look forward to further dialogue.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I wasn't clear about what school you were talking about.
Albiani Middle School.
Middle school. Okay.
In addition.
Thank you. We have your contact information. We'll follow up. All right. Next up is Heidi, followed by Rhett.
Thank you. Before Christmas, the district promised the Parent Coalition for More Area Schools a meeting that would include Rancho Cordova City Council representatives. The district then put off the coalition, saying that they would have a community meeting, then reevaluate the need for a meeting with Rancho Cordova city reps. The district finally had a community meeting at McGarvey Elementary, then acted surprised when many parents showed up expecting to share their concerns regarding the lack of secondary schools in Area 7. One representative from the district really stood up and stated, "That's not what this meeting is for," when parents started asking questions demanding answers and accountability from the district. Did the district really think they could just show up to this group of parents and essentially present a watered-down facilities update presentation that completely disregarded specific and valid concerns related to Area 7 families? This demonstrates a complete disconnect and sense of arrogance from the district. The district also planned this meeting on the same night as a previously planned FCUSD meeting that involved the city of Rancho Cordova and an important redistricting study. When Rancho Cordova City Council emailed the district about this conflict, the district ignored the request and proceeded with the meeting. At the McGarvey community meeting, the superintendent showed how out of touch and disrespectful he is when he told a concerned mom that her son must be messing around and missing the bus, and that is why he gets home so late from school. He also tried to use Cosumnes Oaks as an example of a failed high school that the district struggled to fill to validate his argument that secondary schools in our area would fail. The failure of filling Cosumnes Oaks High School is related to the district building this high school only 2 miles from Franklin High School. The district also built Pleasant Grove High School only 3 miles from Sheldon High School, even though there's plenty of open space and open lots closer to South Rancho Cordova and Rancho Marietta. Why should families in Area 7 suffer because of your irresponsible decisions in wasting resources and planning building sites that were not appropriate for the needs of your large district? And I would like to briefly share 2 more points. I've heard that multiple families are saying that their 6th graders are going to be shipped off to overflow schools instead of being able to attend schools with their peers next year. And with the current flooding road conditions in our area, parents are making trips in the morning that sometimes are an hour and 15 minutes trying to navigate detour roads. And it's even scarier sending your teenagers off on these roads. And lastly, I would like to again point out that it is completely inappropriate to hold daytime board meetings on important topics such as facilities updates. Doing so eliminates the opportunity for public input and participation. This is unacceptable, especially when there is consideration of general obligation bond without providing Area 7 with necessary schools. It is time to be transparent and include all
Thank
stakeholders.
you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Next up, Rhett Pennell, followed by Charlotte.
Okay, once again, I'm still talking about bullying. And this is really interesting because they went to my grandson's school thinking he was being bullied. Well, evidently people weren't listening too well because he's not being bullied, but I'm speaking up for the other kids that are being bullied. So somebody didn't do their footwork real good. And I told him it wasn't my grandson. And I was really surprised. And my daughter-in-law said something to me. So I'm a little angry that somebody didn't really follow up with me. I'm the one that's here every time. So, it would be nice if you could at least do the footwork and really do the footwork about what's really going on. But I'm sticking up for all those other kids that get bullied, and the bullies get by with whatever they want to do. And I volunteer at the school, and I see it a lot. And nothing's really being done. They're more or less like, big deal, which is wrong. I mean, I'm always been against bullying. Yes, a couple things did happen to my grandchildren, but not the one that they went to talk to. And I appreciate that the lady came, but I told her the truth that, nobody did their footwork. Nobody, you did follow up, and I appreciate that. But at least listen and pay attention to what I'm saying and do the other ones that are being bullied. I mean, you can find out if you really want to, but I don't think the principal really cares. And that is really sad. So I'll just keep coming back and saying my 2 cents, and maybe someday somebody will really, listen to what I'm saying about protecting the other kids.
What school does this, please? You need to mention.
Pardon me?
What school?
John Earhart.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Charlotte, followed by Talon.
Thank you for this opportunity. I just want to start off, you all can't handle the truth. This is what I've learned and observed at board meetings. You only like to hear the flowery good things about programs. It has been said, we want to hear from parents and their experiences, but when the experiences are brought up, it's a deaf ear. So I was recognized as a partner in education. I think I understand how to support schools. So in May, 3 other parents and I brought concerns to Dr. Grewal and Mr. Fine. One main concern is about a girl who bullies other students. This is John Earhart. So the funny thing is they were aware and knew the girl's name and the teacher. But yet here it is, February 2024, and this girl still torments the school. She's actually getting followers. When I was a volleyball coach, we had to stop a game 3 times because she and her little gang were disrupting the game. But nothing happened to her. Now the student, she was in 5th grade. So now she and 9 other students get to wander out of class, wander around campus, unsupervised. No class pass, unsupervised. They get to wander out to the blacktop and play whatever they want to play, unsupervised. And they're training the next ones. That's scary. But you know, these 9, 10 bullies are now threatening other kids. And now a lot of kids know me on Earhart campus. Guess what? They're coming to me saying they don't want to go out to recess because of the bullies. Nothing's happening to these bullies. They're running our school. It needs to stop. And again, this just shows how SEL, PBIS do not work in our school. And I can't believe that you all are going to tell me that it works in other schools. We cannot be the only school that is going downhill so fast. It is disturbing, disgusting, and I volunteer to protect these students from these bullies. I have told these students, tell the bullies that that you're a friend of Mrs. Rieger's and they won't bother you, because the main one was the one that told me to F off. So please help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charlotte, I didn't hear everything. Did you say that they are utilizing, Facebook?
No.
Oh, that's why I thought
These bullies are vandalizing our bathrooms because they're unsupervised.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, Talon, followed by Maury Baker.
Good evening. About a month ago, I really started to think about my future. Knowing that I wanted to be a nurse, I started to think about the steps that I could take now to prepare for my future. I found an amazing opportunity with a private organization to become a certified nursing assistant in just 6 weeks. I thought that this was a perfect opportunity to become a CNA before college. Since I'm only taking 2 required classes because I've finished all of my other credits, I assumed that I could get permission to have a half day and leave school early to pursue this wonderful opportunity. I assumed since other schools such as Bella Vista, Folsom High, Bradshaw Christian, and even Calvine Continuation School only require their senior seniors to take the classes they need, that our school would do the same. After waiting for weeks to hear back from the district, I was told that I could pursue becoming a CNA, but that if I did, I would not be able to walk at my own high school graduation. I was told that in order to walk, I needed to take 25 credits to stay engaged. That was the slap in the face. I'm an extremely engaged student. I've completed every single credit that you've asked me to. I've taken advanced English and math classes all of high school. I've passed the AP World Test with the 5 and the AP Language and Composition Test with the 4. I've maintained a 4.25 GPA or higher all throughout high school, with my highest GPA being a 4.4. I will have almost completed a full semester of college by the time I graduate because of the advanced classes I've taken. I scored so high on the ACT that I no longer have to take English in college. I received multiple full tuition scholarships to various colleges. I accomplished all of this while playing soccer and while working 25+ hours a week. And yet I'm told that in order to walk at my graduation that I already more than deserve, I need to be engaged by taking more credits than I need. It is astonishing to me that you think that keeping me at school all day, stapling papers, watching forensic files, and coloring anatomy coloring sheets is more engaging than earning a certification and gaining valuable experience working as a CNA. Anyone could tell and could plainly see that becoming a CNA is a much better use of my time than filling my schedule with classes I don't need. At this point, it seems that you're just keeping me at the school to keep me there. You don't care if I'm sitting around for more than half the day as long as I'm staying engaged. It is also astonishing to me that the adults that are supposed to help me grow and give me every possible opportunity to have a successful future have made a poor decision. I do not understand why our district has to have such an absurd rule about staying at school all day. Other districts understand that once a student finishes their credits, they can leave. If your argument is that our school district is distinguished, then why do I have to pay $10 just to have a math notebook when my parents already pay taxes? Why don't my bathrooms ever have feminine hygiene products when I need them? Why are there not enough parking spots for all the kids at my school? And why do I have to travel 40 minutes there and back to go to school? I hope you can reconsider your decision. I know that it probably won't happen before I graduate, but I hope you can see how flawed the logic is, and I hope you can see how you're holding me back and fix this so other students like me can have an opportunity to progress. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is Maury Baker. Oh, I'm sorry, Mary Baker. That's okay. Mary Baker, followed by Mean Alzubi.
All right, good evening, everyone. Bear with me, I'm nervous. Mr. Hoffman, board members. I am a parent of 2 students here at Elk Grove Unified School District. Yes, sir. Closer? Oh. Okay. I'm a parent of 2 students here at Elk Grove Unified School District. They both started here in preschool, one now in 8th grade at Smedberg, the other at Sheldon in 11th. I have to say, I love the school district. I've done a lot of work with the school district. I've served on the PTO of school site council and been elected 3 times over to be in the district advisory committee. I see firsthand what's going on in the back and then also in the front. I have a lot of eyes and ears through all these years of participating in the school. What brings me here tonight, you say? So here I am, I've got these wonderful students, all of which I've seen grow up, who know me and my children, a community I'm fond of. But now we have a situation in the world. We have a situation in the Middle East. Tonight, I watched how inclusive our district is. I watched all the different communities and countries represented here, and that's wonderful. I'm not here asking for anything. I'm not asking for you to take anything. My children are currently in social science. They all have social science and English classes. In social science and English, they talk about the Holocaust. My children are watching CNN in their social science classes. They're hearing words like Hamas. Oh, Iran funds Hamas. You know, they're hearing words like genocide. There's a lot being brought to the forefront that wasn't in the past. We have a large community of Arabs and Muslims in this school district. And what's different for them now than before is that so much is at the forefront now. They're on social media, as we all know, the images they're seeing, what they're trying to sift through. It's a lot. And again, when topics like the Holocaust were brought up in the past, or CNN was put on the past, the ears weren't going up quite as much as they are now because of all of what's going on currently. I look at be safe, be respectful, be engaged. I want my children to continue to be engaged. I've got this brilliant, bright daughter who loves her favorite teacher. She carries on and on about her social science teacher. She comes home and she asks me these questions. She's scared to raise her hand in class. She can't ask a question. She's watching CNN, but okay, yeah, CNN is credible, but so is Al Jazeera.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Take care.
And last,
Excuse me, ma'am, I know you had more that you wanted to say. If you would like to send an email so that we could hear what your concern is, yeah.
last up is Min Al-Zubi, and feel free to correct my pronunciation. Min Al-Zubi.
Yes, my name is Mayan Azubi, Mr. Huffman and the board of members. I moved to Sacramento back in 2007. I have 3 kids, 2 of them now graduate and went to Sac State and Davis. They're successful, thanks God for our school district. That's why I moved to this area. My third one's still in 6th grade, attending the school, and we as a parent have some conflict back home. My son keep asking me why they're killing these little kids over there, and hope that our school district can help us as parents to counseling and support our kids, because of course my son and other kids keep saying that my son says he's sad and no one cares about what's going on and what happened to his cousin family, which is 4 of them, 1 infant, 5 months old. And this infant died, and his mom and his siblings over there, please have more counseling in our school district. That's what I'm asking for, just to counsel as anything happening over the world or in our country here, just to help us as parents to support our kids and to succeed in their education and their future. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Names of your students to staff.
I'm sorry.
We have his contact info. We don't need to read that into the record.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And that concludes our blue cards.
And just to clarify, we'll be getting responses, district responses to the concerns?
Correct. Yes, if we can find out the follow-up that has taken place with all of the concerns. Ms. Lavasser, we are on consent agenda. Are there any public comments via Zoom for the consent agenda?
Madam President, there are no public comments via Zoom for this item.
Mr. Vargas, are there any blue cards for the consent agenda?
There are no blue cards on this item.
I call for a motion to approve items 1 through 25 on the consent agenda.
I move items 1 to 25 on this clean agenda.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Fortuna and seconded by Ms. Albiani. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, can we do that, right? Okay, I would like to adjourn for 5-minute break, and we will come back with bargaining units. Bargaining units. Are there any bargaining units who wish to address the board this evening? Okay, perfect. All right. Mr. Schweitzer, we will have you come up and share with us about open enrollment results.
Ready? All right. Good evening again. Good evening, Board President Jamerson, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Lavasser. We're here this evening to share the results of our open enrollment. I'll take a moment just to review the guidelines, the timelines, and share the results of the survey data from 24-25 open enrollment. So Education Code, once again, 35160, Board Policy 5116 allows us to identify schools available for open enrollment and to limit open enrollment to schools based upon space of future projections and current enrollment. And a few reminders that we go through for our process is that the open enrollment agreement only applies to the student making the request. So any families with siblings, multiple students, they would each have to apply to a school. Once enrolled to a school of choice, the student does not need to reapply for open enrollment each year within the same school. They only have to apply as they transition from middle school to high school. And then parents must provide their own transportation. So in December, we approved open enrollment process in our timeline. You also approved the 5% rule for any student wanting to leave one of our current schools. So this is our current status for schools this year, 23-24, as well as what was approved for 2024-25. Essentially, everything is the same except Sheldon High School. We did open with a cap of 100. And then this is our timeline for open enrollment. The open enrollment period opened on January 10th and closed on January 19th. We've already conducted the random selection process on January 23rd. Parents can currently see what their status is if they were accepted via open enrollment, and they have until February 13th next week to accept their open enrollment for the following year. Once parents accept, then we'll begin working on any wait lists, and we will have a few that I'll highlight in just a moment. These are our open enrollment results for the number of students that participated in open enrollment this year. You can see that we had 525 for middle school, 530 for high school, so a total of 1,055. Numbers were declining steadily for the past several years, but this year you see that we did almost double for the open enrollment request. Couple possible reasons for that. We did open up Sheldon High School, had 142 applicants, so there's possibly another 142. And then as you'll see, as we look at some additional data, we have about 310 students that currently reside at a school that also apply to stay at that school. So there may be some increased numbers within those numbers as for the additional approximately 500 students that applied this year. So we'll take a moment and look at our results this year, beginning with middle school. So this slide has a lot of information, very similar to last year's slide. It highlights each of the school's capacity, their projected enrollment, the number of requests to and from each site, and then what the overall net impact and percentage of those impact would be if every student who requested open enrollment either left and or accepted their process. So a few highlights in here, we can see that we have our cap schools. So that would be the fourth column that has the 100 in parentheses. Harris, Pinkerton, and Smedberg, they were all capped at 100. Pinkerton, for example, they have the cap of 100. You can see that they had 160 requests in with 55 requests to leave. So that would be a net of 105 if every student came and left. So we will have a wait list with the random selection process for Pinkerton. And then with Samuel Jackman and James Rudder, you can see that their percentage is over the 5%. So Jackman is at 7.3 and Rudder's at 11.1. So we will put a cap on students leaving both of those schools with a wait list. Another trend that I noticed, Kerr continues to be on the uptick with more students applying to come into Kerr. So just to highlight that more and more students are wanting to come in. So this is all of our results for middle school. It shows all of the numbers for the students wanting to transfer in and where they are coming from. So across the top of this graph, we have the receiving school. And down the left-hand side, we have where the sending school is. So we noticed, as I said earlier, that students currently attending school have applied to remain at that school. So if you started at the top left and going diagonal right, the first one would be Harriet Eddy. You notice that there's 20 schools listed down and across for Harriet Eddy. That means that those are students currently at Eddy wanting to remain there. We do a little bit of digging just to see what students possibly this is, if there's any corrections that we can make for next year. There are several students who are currently 7th graders attending Eddy that are there on permit or have been redirected from Toby Johnson, and they've applied to remain there for the 8th grade. So there's some possible reasons for that number of students who reside at the school but then want to stay. We can also take a look just at Edward Harris on the 3rd column there of schools. So we can notice at the bottom, we have a total of 144 students requesting in to Edward Harris for next year. 8 of those students are from Harriet Eddy. Harris had 25 students currently there apply. Jackman had 34, and so on. When we get down to Rudder, we notice that 72 current Rudder students wanting to leave the Rudder area to attend Harris. So we did a little bit of digging, as I did last year. Of those 72 students, about 25 of them attend Isabel Jackson, and another 25 attend Anna Kirchgater. So about 50 of the 72 actually live closer to Edward Harris. So it's natural that they would select Edward Harris just for proximity to the school. So we break down the middle school a little bit further. We break it down by grade. So this slide represents the data of the school's outgoing. So you can see the grade level of students. Predominantly majority of them are in the 7th grade. So for example, Albiani, future Albiani students, 14 of them requested to leave from 7th grade and 1 from the 8th grade. We also break it down by incoming. Majority of the students, 469, are in 7th grade. So predominantly those students coming into 7th grade are the ones applying. And then 2 years ago, we had a request. So we did this same report last year. We break down the information by ethnicity as well. So same concept, outgoing by ethnicity. If we looked at Albiani as the example, they had 1 student who was African-American request to leave, 2 Asian, 2 Filipino, and so on. Majority of the students participating in an open enrollment by ethnicity. Largest group is Hispanic at 154, with Asian being second at 144, followed up by white with 69, and then African American with 61. And then we also do that report by incoming. So you can see that we have our closed school, Albiani and Johnson. They're not allowed to participate for incoming, but we also have the breakdown by ethnicity by school. So we'll do the same thing for high school, similar report with capacity and projections, overall impact if every student participated. Once again, we have the closed and capped sites with the parentheses and the 100 for our caps. So we notice Cosumnes Oaks, they are going to have a wait list with 108 students net wanting in. We also opened up Sheldon, so that's our new school this year. We did cap them at 100. They would be at about plus 65 if every student left and came in on that, so they would not have a wait list. So right now, CO would be the only one with the wait list. Some trends similar to last year. We see that our students are staying at Florin and Valley. They have previously had the request to the cap to leave, and once again, they do not have that. So students are staying in that region once they get into the high school. We break down the report very similar, exact same data and format as the middle school. So these are the overall numbers for the high school, students wanting to transfer in and out. We did this year have several students at our alternative ed with Daler, Las Flores, and Elk Grove Charter wanting to participate. So leaving the alt ed and coming back to the comprehensive high schools, possibly not in their residence area. And then we break it down once again by grade for our students outgoing from each school by grade. And then once again by the incoming, and similar to the middle school with it being predominantly 7th graders, at the high school level, it's predominantly 9th graders. And then we also have our reports by ethnicity. So the majority of the students participating at the high school level, 159 Hispanic, 106 Asian, followed up by 91 white, and then pretty close on the two or more races and African American, each at about 63, 64. And then the data for our incoming, Franklin, Monterey Trail, and Pleasant Grove are all closed, so they're not able to accept students, but you can see the incoming results by ethnicity for our high schools. And I spoke earlier, just highlighting Jackman and Rudder. Once again, they're having the 5% cap, so we do have a wait list for students wanting to leave. And students have until next week to decide if they're going to accept their open enrollment, and then that will affect and impact the wait lists. We also wanted to share the survey data from this year. Of the 1,055 participants, we did get responses for the 738 families participating in open enrollment. So that's about a 70% response rate. Once again, this year, the top 3 reasons include course or program not being offered at their resident school. That one was 199. Childcare in proximity to the requested school at 139, and then more challenging programs at the requested school for 117. And we are able to break down that data again by ethnicity so that we can see pretty much across the board with ethnicity, the same 3 reasons that were the top 3 for the district are pretty consistent with breakdown by ethnicity as well. And then some follow-up actions that we're definitely continue to work with, continuing to support our principals, a lot of marketing, a lot of regional programs and work going on within each of the regions, similar to the board presentations tonight. The student groups, you can see the great work being done in our regions, encouraging students to stay in their home school, wanting them to remain in their region. Our principals are doing great work. We do a lot of support with them, regional work with equity, multi-tiered systems of support, AVID, VAPA, arts and band. There's also great work being done with our middle schools and high schools in our pathway and CTE programs, and so on. And with that, those are our results from the 24-25 open enrollment this year. And this is just the information report. Everything was approved in December, so information only.
Perfect. Thank you. Ms. Lavasser, are there any public comments via Zoom on this item?
Madam President, there are no public comments via Zoom for this item.
Mr. Vargas, are there any blue cards?
There are no blue cards on this item.
Do any of our board have questions for Mr. Schweitzer? I'll start with Mr. Perez.
Well, good report. But again, no mapping, so I did my own mapping and look where their, requests are coming from, elementary level to high school level. And it seems to me, and we maybe need to, sit down and talk about this in your office, is that Asian students and Hispanic students, and who was the other one I was looking at? They want more challenge and more variety of classes and careers that where they're presently at. So they're requested to go to other schools outside Area 1 and 3. And even African Americans, the same thing. I noticed there's a trend early on, begins in 7th grade. They want opportunity and challenge in schools. They, looks like that to me. And this is a study, the only trend study you have is on page 4, but we need to look at, a trend of all these students by high school. It'd be nice. You only have 23, 2 years, but I like to make an in-depth study. Has it gone up or down, or is it the same? And to me, since 2012, it has been the same. Yeah, nothing has. There is more opportunities, but yet I'm thinking there could be, again, still health and safety, bullying and school climate issues that we are not seeing in these surveys. So I'm very concerned about that. And And I was wondering, instead of a survey, your survey is a questionnaire, correct? More like a questionnaire.
Correct. Yeah. As part of the process, when they select their school, they also then give their top reason for why they would want to select that school for open enrollment.
And yeah, so I was thinking another angle. If every student was asked, would you, okay, and all these individuals that are making requests, they know that they're going to have to pay for their transportation costs, correct?
Yes.
And so I was wondering, how many of those students who cannot afford, transportation costs would go to another school if Elk Grove Unified School District paid for them to go to another school? That'd be a very interesting study. How many students would go to another school, if we provided transportation? Only because there's more academic and academy challenges at these other schools. I think that's the bottom line that we have about a lot of these students that are requesting transfers to other geographical areas. But like I said, the numbers, and I think also ranked which schools, and for a fact that the low poverty, high poverty schools are the ones that are making the most requests. Is that right? Can I make that as a statement?
Are you talking about for middle school or high school?
Both of them.
Just in general?
You're right. So we need to maybe do a task force to find out, more in-depth study. And we discussed this within ourselves as board members, but nothing has changed. The numbers are almost the same. So I'm going to end with that. No, I'm going to end with something else. And I spoke with Mr. Hoffman about this. It's a very famous person that was just recognized at the Grammys. And it's in the black and white, she was from South Sacramento, and she was really in tune with dancing, singing, poetry. And she knew, in 7th grade, 8th grade, whatever middle school she was at, she started a dance troupe. And she was so good at that, she wanted to continue that at the high school level, correct? And where did she go? Sheldon High, because it had that academy, dance school and arts. She succeeded. Monet. She's from our district. One of, 3 Academy Awards, not Academy Awards, 3 Grammys the other night. And so I would like to, maybe have somebody with our district sit down with her and talk, with her experience. So, do you think it's going on today? It's very interesting. And she was so adamant to go to that school. She asked her mother, I want to forge my address. Please forge my address so I can go to that school. Can you believe that? The determination of that woman, that in order to get where she's at today, she had to do that. And how many more students are in that predicament or giving false addresses or et cetera, to go to this academic setting because of what they don't have at other schools. So I'm wondering how many of these kids, because we have the cap, are we going to affect that are not going to be Grammy winners? And she said that. I looked at 3 or 4 reports. She says, I was very lucky. A woman that was persistent and had drive and people supporting her throughout her life. And that's where she's at today, that woman. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Mr. Perez.
Yeah.
Mr. Fortuna?
Thank you. It's your lucky night, Craig. Someone gave me a notebook that said to write down things that I can't say or shouldn't say. So I'll take that to mind as I ask my questions. The first one, I'm going to ask, it's not in a sense germane or specific to the report, but I can ask it because you made a comment. And that is, we have advertising marketing campaign, and we spend a significant amount of money on it. Have we ever, or will we ever, do an analysis of the ins and outs prior to when we started our campaign and what it is today?
That I would have to dig into to see what the history of that is, but.
Well, we do have that information, and the communications department and working with the site principals and developing the campaigns. And we've shared before with the board information about hit rates and the difference. When you get into the advertisement concept, there's a whole different set of vocabulary that we use, but we could do an update. I can work with Ms. Jamerson.
I'd appreciate that, because I didn't necessarily agree with that other one. Hit rate doesn't make any difference. That doesn't say anything. Somebody turned it on. Could have been by
No, there's click rates. There's how you interface with it.
Yes,
So,
I understand all that.
we can have that. We've done it before, but we can provide.
Well, it just would be nice, especially if further requests are made to increase the budget. On selected reasons and the area we've talked about before. And I will say what I said before with those are the reasons we've listed, and without specifics, the responses mean nothing. I mean, it's just somebody checked a box. So I don't look at any of those as having any particular meaning because they're not asked for further information. There is one on there, however, that has always concerned me. And it's the one that says specific safety security issue. Now, if they're wanting to leave because of a specific, that's a whole lot different than perceived. And I would think we would want to know about those. Otherwise, it goes unchanged for everybody else. So I make that as a point. And then I'm going to leave it at that. I'm being nice.
Always appreciate it.
I'm working on it.
Isabella.
I don't have any questions. Thank you for the presentation.
Ms. Chaitis Espinosa.
Thank you for the presentation. It seems there are always some fluctuations that we don't know what to attribute to, right? And I guess we're going back to our historical average. There was a dip there. It would be great to know what that was about. In our discussions, I was hypothesizing maybe it was because we had to pause some of our activities. I like to, in my mind, it's choose your own adventure, but you remember the Map Your Future events that we used to do for middle schoolers to think about whether they wanted to attend a program outside of their own attendance area. So I think we are doing more of that now, maybe not exactly what we were doing pre-pandemic, but I wonder if that's one of the things affecting these numbers. But I just, want to state again for folks who haven't followed these conversations for a very long time that this is a very unique set of data, whereas typically you can say, if the number goes up or the number goes down, it's bad. But with this one, the why really matters. So those latter slides are something I really focus on. And it's great to see that, the main reasons that people are requesting to attend a different school are, what I would consider the best reasons, right? We do offer lots of different educational programs in each region, but we don't offer 50 different CTE offerings. So if people want to take us up on open enrollment and attend somewhere else, that also is a mark of success. So just want to make sure we're all on the same page about what the numbers mean. Thank you.
Mr. Vargas.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Can you remind me on the survey, do the respondents pick one reason and that's all, or is it like check as many as apply?
They select one, and we actually did a little bit of further research on that regarding Board Member Forchino's question. It's not something that I've been told we would be able to do in Synergy. We would have to involve Red to do a further layering of questions. So for example, if you had a specific safety issue, it would not be able to, Synergy would not be able to prompt you as to what's that issue. We would have to send out a separate survey to the 1,000 parents and families who participate in it, and then do that after the fact. And then potentially with Red, I would have to follow up with them to get into some additional layering where if they answered a question one way, it would prompt them, open up a dialog box or a drop-down menu. But that would have to be something that's separate outside of Synergy. This report is collected at the time that they are applying for open enrollment. So that's literally like the next question. You select your school, what's the reason? So pros and cons to doing it both ways, but we would have to use an outside survey to get that data.
Yeah, that sounds good. So the one number that jumped out at me was just that the number of Hispanic and Latino families choosing to take part in open enrollment is a little bit disproportional. It's about 30% of the families taking advantage of this, while Hispanic and Latino families are about 20% of our population. And so that jumped out at me, and then I jumped across to the open enrollment results, and really two numbers that kind of caught me were the specific safety and security issues. 40% of those respondents, people who picked that, were Latino Hispanic families. And then general perception of the current school safety, 50% of the families who picked that one were Hispanic Latino. So that's pretty dramatically disproportional. So I wanted to raise those numbers as something that you guys should think about looking at, maybe take a deeper dive in those and figure out what schools are they coming from? Why is there anything there? Is there any there? Right. But beyond that, just something for you guys to think about.
Definitely. Thank you.
But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. I just have a few quick points. In the 9 years I've been here, I've watched safety move down from the reason, so I appreciate that greatly and the work that's gone around that. I was excited to see once seventh graders are in a high school, they're staying in a high school. I think some of our schools that were low enrollment are incredibly special schools, and once they get in, they realize how awesome they are. And so I appreciate that and the work that's been done to do that. And the third one's the same one I always say, I appreciate open enrollment. 3 of my 4 kids used open enrollment and had amazing opportunities, national winners of contests that would not have been offered at the school at their home school. And so we need to be concerned when we see things like Mr. Vargas has brought up, if there's an issue there, but it's an incredible way, and we can't offer every service at every school. So I'm so thankful we do let children move.
Yeah, I just wanted to start saying that I really enjoyed this presentation with the metrics that it's very inclusive in terms of all the numbers and the different group of students. It really makes sense, and dial down to the selected reasons why kids are leaving to different schools. And to me, in terms of the solution-based mindset, I think that it's very important for us to really focus on what we could do to better serve our students, to better them. And a lot of my colleagues already say a lot of great things. I just want to point out as a second to last to speak, is that I think that we really have to maybe, do a deeper dive on certain of these items or reasons that cause students and parents, influence the kids to move to different schools. And a couple of my kids, doing the same thing from Valley to Elk Grove, and for sport reasons. And I think that if we have alternative to cater to the students so that they could stay within their resident school, that would be great. It's that thing called pride. I know that it's within the school district, but if you stay with your resident school, I think, that pride is even greater, in a sense. But of course, at the end of the day, if your resident school doesn't have the program or safety that you feel that they provide, then you have to leave. And then I think that it just, just really dive down on possibly even interviewing some of these parents and students, right? Because the survey could be kind of subjective in a way too, right? So yeah, I would encourage you take another approach to do a deeper dive and to seek for more solution and more options so that we could better our kids. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this presentation. I just have one question about the data. This was all inclusive of middle school and high school. Did we see any variances where middle school, there was, they were looking at different answers versus the high school, or was this?
Are you talking about on the survey results?
Yes, sorry, I'm on slide 21. I
Yeah,
apologize.
I would have to look into that and see if we can provide some more information by grade level.
Yeah.
We do break it down by ethnicity, but I would assume we could do it by grade level and I can get that information
Okay,
for you.
just curious, I'm not asking you to do extra work, just curious if there was a large difference. The other question I had is, how often do we reevaluate our CTE and our pathway programs? Because if there's other schools that students are wanting to go to, because are there lower enrolled programs that we're having, and how often do we evaluate that?
Yeah, easily on an annual basis with College and Career Connections. We do currently right now, we are working through the master schedule for next year. So the obvious thing we look at are student course selections. And when we have under enrollment programs, we do go out and meet with those principals, meet with the CTE programs or California Partnership Academies to see what we can do to increase the enrollment. Sometimes there's some things that we can do with additional staffing or additional budget, but we do need students enrolled in the program. Or, the fear is that we have to close that program to possibly open something that students might be interested in that's different than that.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, so it's annually and then ongoing throughout.
Yeah, and that's a big undertaking. It's not easy to just start a new program. So I completely understand that. So thank you very much. Oh, yes.
I'm going to say my last thing.
Okay.
Going back pre-Craig, this is pardon me?
Pre-Chad or pre-Craig? Would that be Tina or Craig? Chad. It's all good.
This has been a particular area that has been a point of consternation with me for 12 years. And back a few years ago, in a push to try to get an understanding, we came up with the survey. But echoing some of my colleagues, without specific data, it doesn't really make any difference. So I would like you to consider that next year when we do this, we not have a survey. It'll save you time. Parents don't have to just check a box. Again, if it just seems to me like kind of a wasted exercise without specific data. And I understand two things. One, to get good data would be a massive effort. It's number one. And number two, that doesn't even mean we'd get honest answers, because we know that lots of people lie about where they live so they get their kids in a certain school. And it's really easy to say childcare. Click. So I just put that on the table for consideration that we just forget about doing the survey.
Carmine,
Yeah.
can you give a example in terms of the specific? So at least we know.
You mean the survey?
Yeah, you say Pacific, right?
Pardon me?
No, I heard that, but you're saying, but without the Pacific, then we don't do it at all.
Right.
What is the Pacific there? Can you give an example of the Pacific?
You can take any one of them. More challenging program. What program? What are you talking about? What is it that's not offered at your school that you believe is offered at another school? And mind you, we also know people don't go shopping around. It's pretty much in the area of perception. I believe because Monterey Trail is a newer high school than Valley, it must be a better school. And so I just check off whatever. Again, unless you're going to do a really comprehensive, in-depth look at a parent's response so that you have information that you could then use to make changes, why do it at all?
I actually agree to your point there. That's why I alluded to that we have to look at some of these specific item and reasons and do deeper dive, right? And so to your point, I mean, the only thing that I disagree with you is that these data is not important. I think it's important, but once we identify some of these being, especially the top ones, we have to do deeper dive as to what you said. So yes, I think that it is at the point where we need to do deeper dive and like I said, maybe do a different survey, possibly interviews to ask specific questions so we know specific, like the detailed reasons. So I think that's what he's alluded to, and that's what I was alluded to as well. So thank you.
From an evaluative perspective, we as a board, if we supported that, would be willing to accept the time commitment that it would require. And in making that decision, then administration would have to probably come back to us and tell us what they couldn't do. And then secondly, there would be a significant cost added to that particular task. Now, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying if you go in that direction, there are some realities in doing that. And I just don't, since we have to have open enrollment.
Yes, sir.
You got to question, and I pushed for this years ago, whether or not the exercise really makes any sense. Because as long as we have openings, people get to go to an open school. You don't even have to have a reason. We're asking for a reason.
Correct.
But you don't have to have a reason.
Correct. I mean, I do think it is helpful just to see if there's trends. The other piece is, Chad spoke to, we had a 75% completion rate. Well, if we got a 75% completion rate on every other survey we did, we would be ecstatic. And many times we're happy to get, 10, 12, 15%. So 75% of folks giving us a reason, there's something there that's, I think, that to do incredibly deeper dive into it would be a whole other set of work. And in the end,
it doesn't make any difference.
If the families want to choose, we want to make sure we're getting away from misperceptions, because that was something when 9 years ago, it was perceived safety was like near the top of it. And so we've done, so when Ms. Alviani spoke to that one moving down the list. So I think that is an indication that we're being clearer about communication and what's going on in our schools. But in the end, when there's opening in schools, families have a choice to move. That's California law. And
but I do think that modernization is having an impact. I mean, you go to Florin, pretty nice.
Beautiful.
You go to Valley, pretty nice.
Yeah.
So modernization has had a pretty big impact.
That was the promise of Measure M. We were going to bring our existing schools up to new school standards, and that's off topic, but I had to say it.
All right, well, I think.
I got something here.
okay.
Carmen, as I recall, you supported this long time ago, this survey. And what we got out of it, I think I supported it 100%. But like, again, it has to get more into the meat of the problem. You know, it was a start, but it never gone, it hasn't changed. Has it changed? Has it got any deeper?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Survey results.
So like, for instance, there's a lot of questions right here we could go deeper into. What classes are there in your present school that are over there in the other part of the district? Why? Look at this, the Latinos here, and this is very interesting. Child care. You know, if they had child care, they would probably stay there. They say 50 of those individuals. And that's what I've been trying to promote at our schools. If you have child care in your elementaries, you will not have flight to other schools. You have a.
This is not elementary schools.
What?
This is not elementary schools. And we have extended day now at all of our schools.
But that's.
That usually
That is
refers.
the closeness of a, what do you call it, child care center, that's 50 of.
It's not a
that's a high
center.
percentage.
These are families. It's not a center. It's usually
Let me
referring.
tell you this.
Okay.
If you were in, like myself, I dealt with this type of situations with Sacramento Unified School District. And we were finding out that a lot of our students, and Latinos especially in the John F. Kennedy, were not coming to school. And they were transferring to other places. And we were finding out that a high percentage of these Latino students, Hispanic students, were their brothers and sisters' daycare provider. They couldn't come to school because they didn't have daycare. So their parents had them stay at home and take care of their younger ones.
Okay,
So
let's talk about our district. Let's talk about our district.
So this is the same problem. The school districts around California, we have the lack of daycare within our communities.
Okay.
Once you have daycare, you have ADA goes up.
All right,
and
Mr.
people are
Perez.
happy. And the other thing
Thank you.
here I want to talk about is safety. Like Mr. Vargas said, that's a big issue with us. Specific security issues. These are LCAP school climate issues that have not been resolved at these schools. They continue to be going on, and as a result, we have flight of these low-income Area 1, my school area 3, Mr. Vang over there, they tend to go north, south, more north.
Mr. Yang, not Vang.
Okay, so
yeah.
Mr. Perez, thank you. I think, you know,
Look at the map where they go.
the board has noted that data tells a story. And I think it's just about what is the story that we're looking for? What information do we need? But I think there's, like Ms. Albiani said, there's a lot of positives that this story is telling. I like that we are able to meet the needs of our district students and the families and, being able to be flexible. So thank you again for your presentation.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is the governor's budget proposal. Ms. Watkins.
Good evening, President Jamerson, trustees, Superintendent Hoffman, Mrs. Lavasser, colleagues, and members of the public. Tonight, I will be providing you with a summary of the governor's budget proposed for 2024-25. This is our budget reporting cycle, and every fiscal year, we report on 3 years, our past, our current, and our future fiscal year, with ever-changing assumptions. We are between our first and second interim budget reports, and we'll be back to you on March 5th with second interim. From here, the budget from the governor's office will be represented with a May revision in May, and that will help inform our June adopted budget. The governor's proposed budget reflects a budget shortfall of $37.9 billion. The 2022 tax collections, which were delayed to October and November of 2023, fell short of 2022-23 budget assumptions for revenue. The education budget is protected from the impact of a reduction in the Proposition 98 minimum guarantee to fund schools, with no significant reductions in education programs, funding of a slight COLA, and maintaining reserves. This includes maintaining state funding, supporting mitigation of the pandemic's impacts on student learning. The governor's revenue assumptions are more optimistic than the legislative analyst's office. The two offices differ in their approach to adjustments that affect the deficit calculation, including accounting shifts from prior year revenue and moving expenditures to future years. Since 2020, 2020, education funding has received historic increases, which allowed us to address the impacts of the pandemic. The state also funded significant reserves. We can consider that now as an advance towards current economic conditions, since it appears as if we received more revenue than the state could afford in 2022-23 due to the shortfall in tax collections. The governor's plan to address the shortfall appears to be an accounting entry that may reduce future revenues, but is still unclear. To illustrate, the governor's budget proposes a lower Proposition 98 guarantee, including $8 billion in accounting shifts from 2022-23 to future fiscal years to limit the immediate impact on schools. Without making these adjustments, it can create an increased state obligation into the future. Proposition 98 is permanently rebenched upward due to the 2023-24 implementation of the Arts and Music in Schools Funding Guarantee and Accountability Act of 2022, also known as Proposition 28. What the budget proposal means for us is that despite overall shortfalls, the proposal does not include any new cuts or deferrals, since the increases in the 2021-22 revenues were used to fund one-time expenditures. It also means that we can only anticipate receiving the statutory cost of living adjustment and no new funding. What's also not included in the budget proposal are sweeps to unallocated program funds, which means that we can continue to plan to spend funds we anticipate receiving. Prior examples of sweeps include the reduction to the unallocated share of the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Block Grant. COLA is a calculated factor using 8 national metrics. It does not reflect California's fiscal health specifically. As of the date of the budget proposal, we had 6 of the 8 metrics used to calculate COLA. Without the last metrics, the statutory COLA is calculated at 0.76% for 2024-25 and 2.73% for 2025-26. This results in a 3.18% decrease in 24-25 and a 0.56 decrease in 25-26. What this means for our district, using the approved first interim multi-year budget projection assumptions, is an estimated decrease to our base LCFF funding of $23 million next fiscal year and $28 million in 25-26. The local control funding formula includes COLA, grade span adjustments, and supplemental and concentration funds based on our unduplicated pupil percentage, or UPP. The UPP reflects enrolled students who are English learners, eligible for free or reduced meals, and foster youth. This slide reflects the amount we are funded annually per unit of students' average daily attendance, or ADA, for LCFF, our primary revenue source. The current year base grant per grade level segment is increased by the estimated COLA to calculate next year's base grant per ADA, prior to the adjustments for grade span and UPP grants. There are no additional funds in the budget to address pension rate increases. The CalPERS rate is projected to increase each year into the future. There is no anticipated increase in the CalSTRS rate, but also no new funding for CalSTRS relief in the proposed budget. Anticipated cost pressures from pension rate increases, energy cost increases, inflation, and step and column movement will likely outpace new revenues into the multi-year forecast. The COLA is also applied to categorical programs to increase their funding year over year. This includes adults in correctional facilities for our students served at Rio Cosumnes Correctional Center through Adult Ed, child nutrition for universal meals, the mandate block grant, special education, and youth and foster care. It does not include the California State Preschool Program through Child Development, since the 2023-24 enacted budget included a stipulation of zero COLA for the current year and the next fiscal year for this program. The governor's budget proposes opportunities for schools to make up for lost instructional time and mitigate chronic absenteeism. It allows attendance recovery time to be added to attendance data submitted to CDE, both for funding purposes and chronic absenteeism. It also allows schools to use programs like the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program to fund attendance recovery time. It also encourages schools to provide hybrid or remote learning opportunities to students who are unable to attend school, and requires schools to provide students with access to remote instruction or support to enroll in a neighboring school district for emergencies lasting 5 days or more. Transitional kindergarten eligibility continues to be expanded to all 4-year-olds who turn 5 between September 2nd and June 2nd inclusive. There is no COLA or other adjustments proposed for the 2024-25 for the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program. Rates may change for school districts like us with less than 75% UPP based on the statewide K-6 ADA, as the statewide classroom-based ADA has increased with no increase in the proposed budget allocation. Starting this year, we must present an LCAP mid-year update by the end of February, which will be presented at our next board meeting. There are no changes in the LCAP template. There are changes in the LCAP template, starting with the 2024-25 3-year LCAP cycle that includes focus goals for schools receiving the new equity multiplier funding. We have received significant one-time funding initiatives since 2020 that are expiring over the next few years. This includes the ESSER funds, which expire September 30th of this year. The Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant expires June 30th of 2026. Educator Effectiveness Block Grant also expires June 30th of 2026. And the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant expires June 30th of 2028. With respect to the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant, no cuts are proposed. We received the trailer bill last Thursday, which provides more clarity on the governor's intent to focus use of unexpended grant funds on actions to address the needs of students most impacted by learning loss based on an assessment of needs, and it's incorporated into the existing LCAP, or Local Control and Accountability Plan development process. In reference to the budget cycle from slide 2, the January governor's budget proposal is the introduction to the 2024-25 budget planning cycle. It proposes minimal impacts to existing programs and a reduction in COLA that is not finalized. It is certain that the COLA will change by the governor's May revision budget. Over the next several months, the legislature, legislative analyst's office, and the public will weigh in on the governor's proposal with their own interests and solutions. Our second interim budget revision will be presented to our board for approval on March 5th and will include the known budget updates in our multi-year projections. Thank you.
Madam President, just one note, just with for the board, just as a reminder for the board and the public, is this is the governor's proposal. So when you see things that are in there with regards to learning recovery and some of these other ideas, they are the proposal this time. There's no action to be taken. It will be a very interesting budget cycle the next few months, and we appreciate the governor looking to hold education as harmless as possible in very difficult economic times. But the reality is there's going to be other sectors of the budget who are being reduced. And though that lobbying effort's going to happen over the next several months, where they say, well, shouldn't education take its fair share of reduction? So a lot of work to be done ahead. Second interim will obviously will be able to give you a clearer picture of what the proposal does potentially to our multi-year projection. But just as a reminder, it's a proposal, a lot of work to be done, and what January looks like and what May and June look like will be very different.
Thank you so much. Ms. Lavasser, are there any public comments via Zoom for this item?
Madam President, there are no public comments via Zoom for this item.
Mr. Vargas, are there any blue cards for this item?
There are no blue cards on this item.
Thank you very much. Board members, do we have any questions? Mr. Yang.
Well, I just wanted to start saying that thank you for the presentation. There's a lot of information on this presentation. And then just overall taking a look at it, I mean, it could be pretty frightening. It depends on how you look at it. But the shortfall, you know, I spoke with Chris and about this presentation, and it gave me a sense of, you know, I guess peace in a way. So with that said, you know, when I was listening to this presentation, it just kind of gave me a thought of, you know, what really going on in the world of, you know, and we still focus on our education with billions of dollars. And this is really touching for me personally, that we care so much for our kids. And, you know, I have full confidence that, you know, we're going to be fine. So thank you.
Ms. Albiani?
Thank you for the presentation. I think slide 14 is an excellent representation of knowing what's happening when our COLA does not increase as much as our CalPERS requirements alone. But I also do want to be positive, as Mr. Yang has been. We've worked together to get to where we are, and I greatly appreciate our partners in education, and we'll get through this next part together.
Mr. Vargas?
Thank you for the presentation. Am I recalling correct? Are the trailer bills, is any language out from those yet, or are we still?
Came out last Thursday.
Have you guys had any time to look at it? Is there anything in there that we should know about right now or think about right now?
We're making it through it. I know there's several hundred pages.
Yeah. What we're looking for is the accounting trick that the governor's speaking to, because no accountant that I know of yet has any idea how he's going to do it. So that's and I don't know that it's actually going to get spelled out here either. So, but that's what we're all looking for.
It's alluded, from what I've heard, the proposal would not follow generally accepted accounting principles.
That sounds
which
great.
isn't a first for the state of California, I will say. But that being said, what we've heard is that proposals of maybe pushing expenditures into the future or just moving the year in which revenue was recorded. So we got the benefit of receiving funds in 22-23 that necessarily weren't entitled to based on the tax collections. And so it will just be some creative recognition of that revenue likely. But it'll still be interesting how that doesn't result in a change in cash flow. So a lot could change. And as the superintendent said, initial proposal, they're using every, as we heard our county office partner say yesterday, trick in the bag, addressing how to make this work and still no deferral or impact on education. We'll see once the rest of the budget and interested parties get to debate their segments of the budget, if that'll still hold true.
And that is a piece to note, is the governor hasn't used deferrals. There are other tools that the governor and the legislature have used in the past, and those aren't here presented yet. They may well be when we get to May or June. But the other piece is we've never been in a place where we have the reserves on hand that we have now. So that is an absolute step in the right direction. And it from the economics, and you talked about the economists, if you asked them 6 months ago, they were almost universally predicting a coming recession. Now they're almost universally predicting that there won't be a recession, that we may have hit bottom, and this is going to be the term soft landing. So again, nobody knows for sure. A lot of work to do, and we'll keep working through this as we always do.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Ms. Jaivis Espinosa.
Thank you for the presentation. It's good to know what the conversation is early on. And I was going to try to keep my mouth shut, but it's really hard on this topic. I think for context, there's, oh my God, maybe not the most appropriate analogy, but this is how I'm going to describe it. This is how you know you're in an abusive relationship, right? Because we've been conditioned for so many years that they could claw back funds that we've already spent, that when we finally get to a budget where they're not doing that, we're just very grateful. So that is the good news, right? It was on your good news slide that they're not clawing back money that we've already spent. But of course, we still don't know what the accounting tricks are going to be. And I say that as someone who actually appreciates the breadth of measures that they use to try to avoid just doing cuts. But yes, accounting tricks make me nervous. So I look forward to your next presentation.
And a reminder that there's no new funding proposals.
Yeah.
Whereas most years we get new funding. So we're just focusing on what we have and being successful with implementing. And our district has done a great job. We're not facing things like declining enrollment, which our peers are, which will add an impact. So I look forward to bringing you the second interim, where we get into this a little deeper dive on how this impacts our district.
Isabella.
Thank you for the presentation. I don't have any questions.
Mr. Fortuna.
Juan Amari, I just keep enjoying your graphics all the time.
You're welcome. Courtesy of school services.
Yeah, well, the visuals just make it real easy, at least, for myself, I'll speak, they make it really easy to understand. And in terms of questions, when the roulette ball stops bouncing in the wheel, I might have questions, but we're a ways off for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Perez.
Well, you talk about the governor, but I talk about the legislators, the Senate and the Assembly. They are good partners of education. It's the balance of power. The governor says something, yes, it goes to Assembly and the Senate. They discuss it. That's what's going on right now. All these bills are on the table. The committees, the Education Committee are meeting right now. They're submitting bills, talking about them. But the bottom line, they're going to deal with the current issues. And one of the biggest issues I've seen as a result of reading the governor's budget, he's concerned about literacy. Our students are behind the third grade level. And literacy, there's millions of dollars in the literacy area or the arts and cultural enrichment programs. He supports those 100%. All these, the workforce, he's very knowledgeable about the workforce. Our legislators are worried about that because of the fact that almost 2/3 of our students are Latinos. They're the future of California. They're the future of this United States of America. And we have to deal with Latinos and students of colors, African-American students, Asian students, and we have to deal with those issues. We are still weak in special education. They're aware of that, according to the reports. We need more money and more training of professional staff to deal with our special ed population. So I was kind of nervous, but now I'm not so nervous. But the thing I am nervous about where the money is going to, how much per student spending are we going to give our students in Elk Grove Unified School District? Can you answer that question? How much
on the fly?
How much do we give?
But
How much do we spend per child in Elk Grove Unified School District?
I don't have it on the tip of my fingers.
Right.
But I will take you back to slide 11 on what we receive per student.
Yes.
So we
But what-
spend all of what we
Again, the
receive.
big issue I have is, there's monies that are directed to the LCAP, students, low-income students again, and foster homeless now, and low achieving students. And we need to make sure that we are spending that money in that arena. And that's one of my jobs. That's why I asked.
And we just had our,
The subject up area, and nobody wants to
we
talk
just had our audit done
No.
at the last meeting and they confirmed that we're using those funds correctly.
Yes, okay, since you brought the audit, there's another audit that I'm aware of. I have not seen that from the Department of Education. And I've
You
been
need to
very
direct your
patiently
questions.
waiting for that report to come from the Department of Education. And I like to see what that report entails. Where are their strengths and weaknesses within the last
Mr.
audit
Pettis.
review that was done. To this day, I've been very patient. I haven't said nothing about it, but I know there's a report that was done by the Department of Education. It hasn't come to this board. And so that's why, I wonder what's going on behind closed doors.
Member Perez, I'm not certain which audit you're referring to, but I will remind you, as one of the slides pointed out, that next board meeting, we're bringing the LCAP mid-year update.
Right.
It will show how much we've spent on our targeted initiatives within the LCAP to
Right.
support exactly those student populations that you're referring to. And so if you can look forward to the next board meeting,
Oh, I
we'll
see
get
that
into
all
more
the time.
detail then.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see that.
Okay.
Since I've been in this district, I have never seen an amended LCAP. And why don't we? Or in evaluations, I haven't seen,
Okay, Mr.
after school evaluations. as of
Mr. Pettis,
today.
Mr. Pettis, it has to relate to this
What?
report right here.
It is a report.
Okay.
Budget outcomes, student outcomes, I'm very upset about that. We have not seen those. It's very important because we have to prioritize funding.
Thank you very much for your presentation. No questions from me.
Thank you.
Okay, board member and superintendent reports. Do we have anyone who would like to submit a report who met with an organization or committee, or Mr. Huffman?
No reports as far as organizations that we've met with that I can remember. We had one scheduled, but we had to reschedule. I will do a reminder that the facility master plan survey is still open through the end of the day on Friday, on the 9th. And we have continuously improved the number of folks that are there. Every opportunity I get to share that. So please go to our website. It's at the facility master plan website, scroll down, link, and you can share your thoughts about what you want our schools to look like moving forward. So very, very important. So I'll leave it with that.
All right, we have no. Oh, yes. Do you have an official report?
No, it's a second after announcement I want to make, and also question regarding some California school board meetings that are coming up, that people are going to be sent back east. Some people are going down to the Capitol, and I was wondering have you talked about any about who's going to represent Elk Grove Unified School District? Who's going to represent?
We cannot
Washington, DC?
Thank you very much. We cannot discuss that right now, but we can communicate via email to discuss that.
You need to know,
We cannot discuss that at this meeting right now. It is not on the agenda. We can discuss that via email and then report out. Thank you.
The issue I want to bring up is there's a Cesar Chavez.
We cannot make announcements. We cannot make announcements.
We'll share the information that you provided. We'll make sure we already have it and we've been sharing it, but we'll
It's in
share
the
it again.
This
Yeah.
section that you're talking about is committee meetings that the board is. I want to discuss something. A public.
Okay, Mr. Perez, it's for specific,
Okay, consideration for future agenda items.
Right, the process for that, which we already voted on, was that you email the president and the superintendent, and then we will determine if that goes onto the agenda. There was nothing, no, we cannot. You voted on that. We already, no.
I cannot speak about it during.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because that is a violation of the Brown Act. It can only be what is on the agenda. You voted on a process for how to get something on the agenda. I can refresh your mind after this meeting. We can't, yes.
Okay,
So I would then like,
information. Why don't you put that in writing like you do in the beginning?
It's in the
it's in
handbook.
your handbook.
It's in the handbook.
It's in your handbook. It's in writing in the handbook that you voted on. I would now like to adjourn this meeting at 8:47 PM. Thank you.